Hello folks, welcome to my YouTube channel, Watercolor Impression. Since it's winter season in Toronto, I thought I would continue this series of winter paintings. This week we are going to learn how to do early winter paintings. Before you go, hit the subscribe button so you guys can get weekly video updates from our channel. And let's get started, guys. I'll provide the drawing template and reference. Check my video description to download it so you guys can follow with me. As far as drawing, three things to consider: look for bigger shapes, the sky, the road, and the buildings, and the rest of elements which are sitting on the reference. I will start with my first wash. For the first wash, I'm throwing down a blue wash using Cobalt Blue and a little bit of turquoise in it and a little bit of white paint in it. I didn't realize that I used hot press Saunders watercolor, and if you're using it, I would not recommend using hot press because it doesn't stick well and it doesn't blend the colors as prominent as cold press Saunders watercolor. So if you're doing any work which involves a lot of transitioning and a lot of wetness of the road or any kind of moody paintings you do, I only recommend cold press for it, because hot press you can use for really contrast look for a sunny painting or anything like that. So you can see I'm throwing down my first wash. So the first wash is nothing but to see what colors are sitting on my planes of my painting. For example, the sky and the road as well as the foreground element. So as you think, when you paint watercolors, you have to think light washes first. So if you squint your eyes and if you see the reference, the light washes are the lights inside the streetcar as well. So I'm adding that as well. And once you add like details, the mid value and the darker value, it will work by itself. So I started with the background, and when I do this kind of painting, and I try to make it as a single shape instead of having a lot of different shapes, then it will beat the idea of having a really high contrast in the background. So it's good to combine everything together. And this is not a great subject for watercolors, I will fairly admit that, and I'm a big fan of exploring the watercolor medium, because if you see a lot of work of watercolors, it's usually, they do a lot of grayish painting, because watercolors tend to go on a little bit of vibrancy. It's really hard to put a lot of colors on it. Being said that, I have also used art press, so it's not sticking the colors properly that much. If I would have used the same painting on a cold press, it would have done a pretty good job on it. So now you could see I blocked the foreground building, but you can see I also varied my values on the foreground as well as the midground. So these are a little bit of details I'm seeing. I'm just throwing as it is wherever I see, and it also shows that where everything goes. This is not about putting down your true value to the reference. This is just to see where everything sits, and make sure that to do this a little bit of with a lot of water in your brush, because we don't want to put a lot of darker wash in the beginning, because that's how watercolor works. You start from the light wash and you go to the midtone value and you go to the darker value. It's surprising whenever I paint car. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but I hopefully this time it worked properly. So let's focus on a little bit of the foreground elements. That's a tree, and you can see there's thousands of things happening on the trees, but I will simplify in such a way that it looks visually pleasing. As a beginner or a painter, we should simplify things, and we should leave out a lot of superstitious details in our painting. There are painters who paint everything, but I usually paint simple. That's my goal. So once I finish it, I'm going to start from the background, and you can see I start adding the reflections on the ground. The reflections on the midground is just a darker value, and leaving some white bits for the headlights from the car as well. And I left some white bits here and there, and you can see suddenly everything sits in the place wherever it sits. As soon as we added that, it framed our midground car, and it also framed our foreground street car as well. And I use the same technique. I'm bringing from right to left, because that's an easy way to paint. I can also paint from left to right, but this way we can control the value a little bit better. So that's why I started from the back to the front. And you can see, and I'm trying to blend all the colors together. And in the reference, you can see there's a lot of warmth happening in the foreground. Before it dries out, I'm going to put a darker value there. So this is a beautiful thing about watercolors. If it's wet and if there's a little bit of water in the paper, you can put a lot of colors in it and it blends by itself. And even though there is no shadows on those bike stands, I'm usually adding and making up a little bit of shadows just to have a little bit of interesting elements in the foreground. We're also quickly going the end of our painting, and so the street poles, and this is a technique sometimes I use. I put water in it and I take tissue paper and dab it to get rid of the painting, and it kind of gives like this light glow on the street lights. I'm just adding this, and you can see I'm using white paint and a little bit of cadmium yellow in it. So in the foreground, and the streetcar require a lot of details. The things in the foreground, it always requires a lot of details because it's the only thing which is in the foreground. It also takes the viewer into the painting. So we have to make sure that we're adding all those details and everything. But being said that, I also kept it really minimal in my streetcar as well. So this is the bit which is a really fun thing to do, and a lot of people overdo it. Sometimes I do it personally too, but I try to avoid it. This is just to show where the light goes. We have the darker tones and everything. You can see as soon as we put some lights here and there, the whole landscape came alive. So I'll squint my eyes. I'll see like where everything goes. Squinting your eye is really important when you paint, because it gives it minimizes the details for you, so you know like where exactly you can put the details as well. And this is the orange light, and for the orange lights I mix cadmium yellow and red cadmium red in it. And you can see, even though I'm putting a darker pigment there, it's going dull, because as I said, this is not a great subject to paint watercolors, but I force myself to do a lot of subjects like this. It ended up being really good sometimes, and sometimes it doesn't work at all. And this is another thing about painting is whenever you paint, some paintings work and some painting doesn't work at all. We have to keep going in order to persevere as a painter, to learn from it and not to do this mistake again. And it will be surprising, there are some people might love this painting and buy your painting as well. So I do put all my paintings in my art market. It is really surprising that sometimes when I think that the painting doesn't look really good, but some customers really enjoy buying my painting because they liked it. So you can see it's just like matter of putting all those details here and there. And so this is a good thing about taking care of major shapes in your painting. And before I jump onto it, I want to focus on what I was doing on the car. The car wasn't coming in the front with the streetcar, so I darkened the value so the streetcar and the car sits on the same plane and the same in the foreground. So I'm adding some street wires. And this also really helps, because this also provides artists to cheat perspective, to give directional lines, and it also takes us to go into the painting as well. And watercolor desperately needs this. What I'm talking about is the tape, and it also shows like how your painting looks like, and you can also see if you need any of the details you can put in after that too. And now it's your turn. Take my drawing template and reference. Hope this video helps you to learn a little bit about watercolors and how it's difficult sometimes and how it's easy sometimes. So pick a subject that connects with you and go out and painting. Thanks again for watching this early morning winter video tutorial with me. Let me know what you guys think about this video in the comment section. If you want me to cover any of the subjects in watercolors, write me at watercolorimpressions@gmail.com or comment below. Before you go, hit the subscribe button so you guys can get weekly video updates from our channel. And please do share with your friends and family. And good luck with your painting, folks.